JB here. Hope everybody's doing outstanding. Friday, January 24th, 2025, 8:56 on this fine Friday. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at, go from there. Sorry, I'm going to talk really fast, so apologize if I run out of breath. S&P futures, kind of flat market futures, point to a slightly lower open, similar to what we had yesterday. Markets were lower at the open, then we bounced, consolidated in the afternoon, and then a end of session rally with the S&P closing at all-time highs. Its first all-time high of 2025. Earnings after the close yesterday. Intuitive Surgical actually posted a strong quarter, beat raise, strong procedural growth, and the stock is selling off. I don't know if it's just profit takers or consolidation. It's getting upgrades this morning, so I'll talk more about that in a second. You also had Texas Instruments slightly down. Next week is the big earnings. We got Tesla, Meta, Microsoft. Wednesday, also the Fed meeting, first Fed meeting of 2025. Thursday will be Apple. So considering that is pretty much done until February, it's going to be a pretty big week for markets. S&P, the SPY was talking about 610 as that big area, and it was back in December. I was talking about 610. Didn't get there in December. Fast forward a month, and it looks like we got up to 609.75 yesterday. So maybe some chop here today. Upper Bollinger Band 609.33. And I would love to see it close over 610. Might have to wait till next week. S&P's up 2% this week. I think it was up 3% last week. So you're talking 5% rally just in a matter of 2 weeks. And this is a holiday shortened week. So I mean, it's only been 3 days this week and 5 last week. So 8 sessions. A pretty impressive rally. So I'm not saying it's an opportunity for a pullback, but maybe some consolidations in order. So watching that. Also, US dollar, a weaker yesterday, and then overnight, the Bank of Japan raised their rates 0.5%. So what are they saying? It's at levels not seen since 2008. But Japan is kind of like on its own little path for its economy. It's had issues over the years, so it's kind of there was some weakness in the U.S. dollar because of that rate hike. I don't think it's going to do much to markets. We had that back in the summer. Back in August, we had that huge move in the markets because of Japan, but I think that's we got that out of our system. So also yields a little stubborn yesterday, so I want to start to see those go back on the decline. And I think that'll bode well into next week. If we get over 610 next week, and if the Fed could kind of just not surprise markets again, remain kind of on the same tone, maybe, and the earnings are good from Meta, Microsoft, Apple, and Tesla. Maybe that sets us up to 615 or so on the SPY, which would be pretty crazy. All right, so now, and then last but not least, small caps. And that IWM still struggling to break the 50-day moving average at 229. Maybe today is the day. All right, so now quick on some of the names of TripAdvisor. Finally, after, I would guess, I wouldn't call it pumping, but being extremely bullish on it since early December. The stock was in the 13s, right? 14s, then was 15s. And then yesterday morning, it was gapping in the pre-market. I think closed 1570. It's at 16, 1610. I'm watching what the heck's going on in the pre-market. Wasn't up that much. And then it just melted higher. And then all of a sudden it was 1650 at 1130. And then it just spiked into the 17s. And then I look, huge call volume, 35,000 calls traded by 12 o'clock. So then I started looking for news. You go to FinTwit, and you can't even go to FinTwit because there's a meme coin that's Trip. So you get 100 of things on that coin and one thing on TripAdvisor. So very hard to parse through that stuff. Then I went to the filings. No updated new filings for a Trip, but on the Liberty TripAdvisor, they had their going private transaction filings and a proxy notice. So with that means hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents, which all these transactions, you wonder where all the money goes. It's for lawyers who just make these documents that cost millions of dollars, right? For just for papers, but rants for other days. So very hard to parse through. And then I don't know, was Tejans, someone in the chat room was able to find the actual wording and the page of what document it was on, where it showed that in October they received a possible inquiry into a potential buyout for, I think it was 1750. Then December 4th was 18 to 19 bucks. The kind of the thing, and as I was starting to think about it last night and look at all more stuff, the ironic thing, well, I wouldn't say ironic, is back in October is when the Financial Times came out with their rumor that Uber was looking to buy Expedia. And meanwhile, here you go. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden Trip is getting a undisclosed solicitor for potential buyout in October. So like the same time frame for Expedia. So don't get me wrong, who knows who this person might be, but No surprise to be Uber. So then you get that news, the stock spiked, able to lock some of my March strikes in for over 100% and June strikes in. I look at it two ways. One is that once you have a number, it kind of removes speculation, right? So I think one of the great things about TripAdvisor is that I think it's still at 18 bucks is well undervalued. I think it's at least 28 plus, if not higher. But when you get a buyout dollar amount, it kind of removes speculation a little bit, right? It takes out all the what's the possibilities, what would be the buyout. So the only thing you can think is they nix the offer, they get a raised offer, so maybe it's in the 20s. But to me, that kind of takes out some of the value of later dated higher strikes, like my June strike. So don't be surprised if I lock in my June strikes, and maybe if some of the closer dated strikes start getting less expensive, I'll look for more of those. Not because I don't think it could be 28 bucks, but it takes away some of that probability and the speculation side. So, but what a great move. I would love to see continuation here today. Maybe if you close over 18 bucks, I think that'll be a good sign. But awesome to see that work out. All right, so that's Trip. No more rant on Trip here right now. Caterpillar, another monster session yesterday. I don't know why I couldn't do it on Wednesday, but I guess GE, whatever that company reported earnings too, and it moved up Deere and CAT as well. And then you have all this rumblings around energy and AI, which is not anything that's new in my opinion, but all of a sudden that's what they use to rationalize these moves. I keep saying I think a lot has to do with the California filers too. I think there's a lot of things put together that are just bode well for infrastructure as a whole. So, Caterpillar all the way up through 400 and then just nonstop to the upside, all the way up near 410. I tried to get some more of my 410s out for over $2. I put it in and they just ticked the bids down. So, what I sold for like 183 somewhere in there. So close somewhere out for 600%. And then I just held a couple. I have a few left. We'll see what happens here today. If it finds a bid again today and it gets over 408 or so, I might look for some spec calls, maybe some 415s, 41250s, because I don't think it will take much. 2.5% move puts it at 418, 420. So could be a nice lotto again today for some more overshoots. So that's Caterpillar. Great trade this week. Roku, half of me doesn't even want to talk about because it seems like every time it has a great solid move to the upside, the next day it just gives it all back. So yesterday there was no news really, no catalyst. It was just, you would think if there was a 5% move in Roku, it would have happened on the Wednesday morning with Netflix earnings, but of course it didn't. But the good thing is my spec calls are back to life. So hopefully if get some continuation here today, I can lock those spec calls in for some profits, or even if just for flat, and I'll look to roll some out into next week. I also added those February strikes, which hopefully will encompass earnings. If they announce earnings after February 21st, I'll probably lose my mind. I don't think they will. But it's probably going to be either the week before, which will be February, I think it's the 11th to the 14th, or it will be the week of February 21st, which will be option expiration. So as long as that happens, premiums should remain intact. Calls are up a little bit already. Hopefully that continuation today could keep going. I can lock some in to cover costs by the rest. Adobe and MDB both closed pretty much flat yesterday. Adobe was down 0.01% after its 7-session in a row rally off its pincher. Still like this one, 440. It breaks 440. I think it's off the races. Might look for some strikes in the next week. And then MDB was down 0.03% yesterday. Still setting up nice here. It's like one of these weeks it's going to enjoy a 7, 8, 10% plus move to the upside. So I don't want to be in a spot where I missed that. Thankful I was able to lock some of my calls in to cover costs early in the week. Who knows today? I mean, it doesn't need much for my calls getting money, but I'll look for more strikes on that one. Netflix. So I tried to trade Netflix. I think at some point it's going to break over 1,000. Once it does, it's going to be quick. It's going to be 110, 1020. Once it found some resistance around 970 yesterday, I closed my calls out for a small loss. I'll continue to look for opportunities maybe today, maybe look for some calls into next week. Just a great story, and I don't think it's done heading to the upside. And then I think some of it's just going to be speculation. There's going to be some kind of split news, right? Once that happens, it'll be an instant gapper, 6, 7, 8% to the upside. That's Netflix, and also some of my top 5 stocks. I'm still looking to get some Weave Communications tight. I don't even know why I don't have the chart here. I think I put it in a watch list. Very tight Bollinger Band. So it's been chopping around. I think that one's ready to break out. I think Toast got upgraded, which is more similar to the line. I mean, it doesn't do healthcare offices and vet offices and dentists and things like that, but it is a platform for consumers. So I think that's it. Surprise gold is rallying up nearly 1% here today. It's like one of those, it's almost at all-time highs, $2,800. So I'll be watching that. At some point, I don't know if it's because of the Nikkei, the Bank of Japan news. I don't know if that's some of the reason why it's rallying, but Anyway, let's have a great end of the week. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.